Hey, the tech news is coming up soon, and I thought, if you're not going to get it from anyone else, maybe I could present it to you. I'm sorry, I'm being so stupid. You wouldn't, unless. Microsoft suffered a global outage yesterday, affecting access to many Microsoft 365 services. According to the BBC, even access to Minecraft was affected.
And Xbox Live, actually.
Unfortunately, Microsoft stated during the outage that Teams was not affected. So close. Meaning that app continues to barely function by design. The company also determined that the outage was due to a DDoS attack on its Azure cloud platform. The attack then activated DDoS protection mechanisms, which, due to an error in implementation, made the attack worse.
Great job, Microsoft.
What is going on over there? This incident comes less than 2 weeks after global infrastructure was knocked out by a faulty software update from cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike. Many businesses are still dealing with the fallout from that outage. The CEO of US-based Delta Airlines may be seeking damages of $500 million from CrowdStrike and Microsoft after being forced to ground thousands of flights and reimburse affected passengers for food and overnight hotel stays. That's a lot of money that Microsoft could be using to continue paying the best engineers for their worst work. There's been a lot of developments around deepfakes recently. Google announced it is updating their search algorithm to better handle explicit AI deepfakes. The changes will make it easier to remove deepfakes at scale and will penalize sites that host such content by demoting them in search rankings. Because the easiest way to hide non-consensual imagery is to place it on Google Search's second page. On top of that, the US Senate has introduced a bill for the No Fakes Act, which is meant to protect artists from AI deepfakes. While some, like artists, like the bill, others are worried the bill is overly broad and could allow for misuse. Meanwhile, last week the Senate unanimously passed the Defiance Act, which allows victims of non-consensual explicit deepfakes to sue individuals who knowingly produce, distribute, or receive those images. But that's not enough. The US government needs to crack down on AI deepfakes that are used for fraud and manipulation, says Microsoft, the company that arguably had a major role in making AI deepfake fraud so accessible.
Guys, you need to solve this problem I caught.
AI search company Perplexity has announced they will be sharing revenue with publishers whose content shows up in Perplexity's AI-generated answers. This comes a month after Perplexity got in trouble for plagiarizing content from multiple publishers. So while this revenue share may sound like a step in the right direction, I'm not sure Perplexity will be able to pay its sources when it's been failing to disclose where its answers even come from. We just handed out some money to people. I don't know who they were. Aside from dodging plagiarism accusations, there may be another reason Perplexity decided to offer a revenue-sharing deal: OpenAI's launch of their own AI-powered search tool, SearchGPT, last week. On top of that, Reddit is now blocking every search engine but Google's after making a deal with the search giant. According to Reddit CEO Steve Huffman, SearchGPT will be able to show results from the site thanks to a similar deal, but Huffman called out Perplexity for refusing to pay to access Reddit's data. Unfortunately, that means Perplexity users will have to miss out on treasures like a factually accurate 1,000-word comment about 18th century wheat agriculture written by someone called Ned the Nip Hunter. And that's not a real example, but it could be. We made it up. But I would never make up our sponsor, Magic Spoon. Put a spell on your taste buds with Magic Spoon's health-conscious yet wickedly tasty cereals. They have 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 to 5 net grams of carbs per serving. That's absolute sorcery! And their familiar flavors like fruity and frosted will leave you enchanted. Follow the link below, conjure up a Magic Spoon variety box, and use code Linus for $5 off. Quick Bits are like shooting stars, except instead of making you go, whoa, they make you go, AMD has launched its new Ryzen 5000 desktop processors. The Ryzen 9 5900 XT and Ryzen 7 5800 XT now available at retailers. Unfortunately for AMD, some US retailers also listed the not yet launched Ryzen 9000 series of CPUs, leaking the prices. Fortunately for consumers, it looks like the new chips will cost up to $100 less at launch than the current Ryzen 7000 series did. There's so many series going on right now. What are you doing, AMD? Meanwhile, Intel, who apparently spent 2 chip generations selling broken CPUs, has announced their Lunar Lake laptop CPUs will launch on September 3rd. At this point, I'll consider Lunar Lake a success if the chips don't burst into flame. Let's just go for that. Amazon has been forced to recall over 400,000 products. The US Consumer Product Safety Commission determined that Amazon is legally responsible for the defective products of third-party sellers, and that the platform failed to alert hundreds of thousands of customers to these serious risks. Those unsafe products include hair dryers without electrocution protection, faulty carbon monoxide detectors, and children's pajamas that violate federal flammability standards. Turns out Amazon's delivery network is so vast, they offer same-day shipping to the afterlife. Meta has agreed to settle a privacy lawsuit with the state of Texas for a massive $1.4 billion. The lawsuit was filed 2 years ago and alleged Meta was using Facebook users' biometric data without permission to power the tag suggestions feature the platform introduced way back in 2011. You'd think Meta would learn to stay on the right side of the law since then, but an investigative report by the Wall Street Journal claims hundreds of ads for illegal drug marketplaces have appeared on Instagram and Facebook. Ads like this are dangerous to the impressionable users of Instagram, and perhaps insulting to the bots that still use Facebook. They can't even do drugs. Google is taking heat for a recent Olympics tie-in ad where a father gets the Gemini AI assistant to generate a draft of a letter from his daughter to an athlete she admires. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking a pre-written draft and personalizing it to fit your needs, but there is something ever so slightly icky about putting something as innocent and authentic as a child's letter to their celebrity hero through the same process. What would the AI say? Let's find out.
What would the AI say for my daughter?
Maybe this fictional little girl will one day be a skilled athlete herself. But it'd be great if she also had some baseline literacy so that she doesn't have to sign documents with an X like a medieval peasant. And are you an awkward loner with $100 just lying around? Well, good news, there's a new high-tech wearable just for you. It's an AI conversation bot called Friend. It takes the form of a large, extremely noticeable necklace that listens and comments on everything happening around you, which is guaranteed to make other humans deeply uncomfortable.
I just kind of like to come up here to be by myself. I've never brought anybody else. I mean, besides her.
She goes everywhere with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Friend, the company behind Friend, reportedly raised $2.5 million from investors. The company then apparently used $1.8 million of those dollars just to acquire the domain name friend.com, which sounds like a great way to lose a bunch of friends.
But for just $99, you can get them back.
But you won't lose a single friend by coming back on Friday for more tech news. Hey, if you watch it with someone else,